Hi, Aniruddha here. Today we are going to talk about the functions. What is function? Why do you use functions? And how you are going to write functions in Python. That's what we are going to see today. In the previous section, we have talked about the variables, operators. To understand that, we have created simple program which will do addition of two numbers. So this is our fourth lecture, and here if you can see, we have defined num1, num2, and result is equals to num1 plus num2 and addition, and it will give you output addition is 30. This is what we have seen in the last section. Now in continuation to that, I would like to ask one question. If I want to perform addition of 53 and 85, how do you do that? Either you need to change values over here 53, 85, or you need to define it once again 53 num2 85, and the result is equals to num1 plus num2. Print, and here we can say addition is a result. This is what we have seen. Now again, what I want to do, I want to perform the addition of different two numbers. I want to perform addition of different two numbers. How you are going to do that? Again, you need to write this code. Num1 is equals to 96, num2 is equals to 74, then result is equals to num1 plus num2, and the print, again, can you see we are writing this code repeatedly. A repetition is bad in good programming architecture. Addition is, again, if you see, we are doing same thing again and again, means there is some problem in this code. Why this is problematic? Whenever this is simple code, addition of two numbers, that's why we can debug it easily. But when you write the complex systems like communicating with the IoT device, communicating with some servers, or you perform the data analysis, so debugging of your code is difficult, or you can say maintenance of your code is difficult in the case of a repetition. And that's why a new programming construct is there called as function. This is the today's topic we are going to talk about. What is function? First, we will understand why functions. Code reusability. If you look at our code, we can do this thing by writing some common structure, and into that common structure we can just pass the different numbers. Code reusability, improved readability, easier debugging, avoid repetition, and modular programming. I told you these things, right? So code reusability, write once and use multiple times. You can write code a single time and use it many times, right? How we will see in our code. Improved readability, break complex problem into the smaller manageable parts. Now functions, with the help of functions, instead of writing 1,000 line of code in a single script, you can divide it into the smaller parts. Well, you will get to know this thing in the tomorrow's session, how exactly we are going to do that. Then easier debugging, isolate the issues by testing the small chunks. I told you this example, debugging. Then avoid repetition. So you don't need to rewrite this code for addition of two numbers again and again. So there is one principle called as dry. Dry means what? Do not repeat yourself. Don't repeat your code. A modular programming, you can maintainability. I talked about the maintainability. So whenever you write the code, write it for the maintainability, a maintenance. So you are going to write this code and you are going to modify it 10 years later. At that time also, this code should be maintainable properly. So if you divide the code into the smaller chunks, it is much maintainable. And that chunk is nothing but what? A function. What is function? Function is a block of code that performs the specific task. Consider that we are writing a function. I will write it. Well, a simple function. Remember that function in a Python defined by the def keyword. Def. So whatever you write after def, say add underscore nums. So this is the name of the function, add underscore nums, and n1, here you can say n1, n2, and colon, this is a syntax, def, here you can say def is a keyword in a Python. Then add underscore nums is a name. You can write any name. Don't get confused with the name. Name can be anything, but it should be, what you can say, it should be logical name. Whenever you look at the function, you need to understand what it is doing exactly. So here I can say result is equals to n1 plus n2, and here I can say print addition of two numbers. Addition of two numbers is res. Just run it. So this thing is called as function definition. You define the function. Presently it is not doing anything. Now you need to call the function add underscore nums. Now here I can say 1285. I can call this function multiple times with the different number. Can you see? Reusability. Reusability principle we have achieved over here. 39. And here you can say 52. Here you can say 45 and 74. Now can you see, without writing this code again and again, you just changed the numbers. That is what functions are doing in your programming language. Now, instead of writing the code, main business logic, you are simply giving a call to that particular function. It is maintainable, it is debuggable. Okay. So a function is a block of code that performs the specific task. It runs only when it is called. I told you, this is a function definition and this is an actual call. Actually, you are calling function over here. So whenever you call the function, this much piece of code is working over here. If you remember, we talked about the indentation. At the time of if conditions, we have talked about the indentation. Same rule applies over here. If you want to have these two lines inside this function as part of this function, you need to give a tab over here. These two tabs are saying these two lines are a part or the body of this function. Okay. Can accept the inputs. So we are going to talk this thing in the next session. What do you mean by parameters, input parameters, and what you can say output of the function, that is called as result. Input parameters and the result. Function can return the output of processing, that is called as result. It can accept the inputs called as parameters and return the outputs. We will see this in the next session. Help group related code together under the same name. So related to the addition, whatever code is relating to the add numbers, we can write inside this name, right? Helps group related code together under the name. Reduce the complexity. Instead of writing 1000 lines of code in a single script or single Python file, you can divide that code into the smaller chunks. That's what we discussed in the initial slide. So how do we define the function in a Python? Defining using a def keyword, we have seen that. it can take the parameters. This n1 and n2 are the parameters. Well, the function can return the value also. I'll show you. Just tomorrow we will discuss in detail on this num with result. So here I can say n1, n2. You can write as many as functions as you want. So here you can say result n1 is equals to n1 plus n2. Return the result. Now I'm not writing this print statement inside this. So this complexity or this part we will see in the next session. So here I can say addition of two numbers is add number with results. Here I can say 45 and 89, and then here you can say print addition is AD, a variable name, right? So if you see here, addition is 134. So what is the difference between this function and this function? So this function is accepting two parameters, n1 and n2. This function is also accepting two parameters, n1 and n2. This function is not returning anything, but if you see, there is a return keyword. It is returning the processing value. It is returning what? The processing value, right? So function can return, the return statement sends a result back to the caller. The intendation is mandatory. We talked about the intendation. So what we have discussed in this section, what is function, how functions are going to work. So in depth about the function we will see in the further upcoming sessions. If you have any query, you can ask me. Thank you.